Namaste Jai Hind all. Today I am here with the topic Nationalism in India. Today we are going to talk about Gandhiji. Because of Gandhiji we have been able to receive independence, as we all know. And he has taken the right step, that is the step of truth and non-violence. Because of those two great steps we have been able to achieve the independence after such a long period of time. But after all, these were the two initiatives which made Gandhiji as a popular figure in the history of India. Now through PPT we are going to watch each and every incident about Gandhiji or whatever step he has taken for the betterment of our country. The rise of nationalism in India. Today we are going to talk about Gandhiji. Gandhiji emerged as the undisputed leader of Indian National Congress. He returned to India in 1915 from South Africa, where he fought for the Indian against the racist regime. So now I would like to let you know, while he came to India, first of all he met his political guru Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and as a result it was suggested by his guru that better first you visit throughout India and find out what is the reason because of which the Britishers forced Indian to become a part of the policies which are implemented by them, and find out the reason why people are bound to follow those policies and become a part of British rule. Now, in the first slide, we are going to talk about the idea of satyagraha. So, what is satyagraha? It is important to know why people have given importance to satyagraha. Satyagraha is a synthesis of two words, satya meaning truth and agraha meaning to persuade. Its two major components were truth and non-violence. A satyagrahi would refuse to submit to whatever he considered wrong. He would remain peaceful even when he was provoked. He would resist evil. To be successful, the satyagrahi must give up fear, hatred, and falsehood. Without being revengeful or aggressive, a satyagrahi could win the battle through non-violence. This could be done by appealing to the conscience of the oppressors. So Gandhiji believed that the non-violence could unite all the Indians and made them understand then how important it is to fight for the freedom of country, but by the means of truth and non-violence. Now in the next slide we are going to talk about the role of Gandhiji when he reached to India, and after that whatever he has decided to do. So Gandhiji returned to India in 1915 from South Africa, I have already told, and this was a unique method that he has implemented, that is satyagraha for mass agitation in South Africa, and that is about the racial discrimination or injustice with the people. The physical force will not resist to fight the oppressor. A satyagrahi can win the battle through non-violence, he suggested, and as a result, he was successful up to a great extent. And later on, while he reached India and while he noticed the problem here, he was very upset, and as a result, he has started to meet people to find out what is the basic reason. So, we should talk about the initial struggle of Gandhiji. The two details are given in here. In the next slide, we are going to discuss about all. So now it is important to know what are the initial struggle of Gandhiji. So initial struggle number one, that is indigo farmers at Champaran 1916. Number two, poor peasants in Kheda 1917. And third one in 1918 Satyagraha at Ahmedabad. Now one by one we will discuss. It is very important to know. Before that I would like to let you know Hind Swaraj, the famous book written by Mahatma Gandhi, which emphasized non-cooperation to British rule in India. So I would like to let you know all the initial struggle. Indigo farmers at Champaran, number one, that was held in 1916. Gandhiji inspired the indigo farmers to raise their voice against the exploitative plantation system. Under this system, the farmers were bounded by law to grow indigo on 3/20 of their land and sell it to the British planter at prices fixed by them. A commission of inquiry was set up to look into the issue. Gandhiji was one of its members. Gandhiji has little difficulty in convincing the commission that the plantation system should be abolished and the peasants should be compensated for the illegal enhancement of their dues. Within a decade, the planters left the district. So what was the basic reason of indigo plantation? That after the plantation of indigo, the land lose the fertility of the soil. There was an exhaustion of soil, and as a result that land turned into a wasteland. So that was no use of that land after the plantation of indigo. So this was also the concern and demand of the peasants. Number two, that was poor peasants in Kheda, 1917. Similarly, he supported the cause of the peasants of Kheda who were not in a position to pay the revenue due to famines and epidemics. They were demanding that revenue collection be relaxed. However, the government agreed to suspend collection. So this is about 1970. Now last one, which is very important. Afterwards he moved to Ahmedabad in 1918, where he initiated the minds of the textile workers to organize Satyagraha movement, and as a result the mill owners are awarded a 35% increase that the workers had demanded. Finally the strike was withdrawn and Gandhiji was successful to convince people. The Gandhiji got tremendous success in these local movement which brought him into contact with many more common people. Now we have to see there was an introduction of Rowlatt Act. After the initial struggle, a new problem rises in the form of Rowlatt Act, that is the Act of 1919. About Rowlatt Act, so now we should see what is Rowlatt Act and what are the features of Rowlatt Act. This act had been passed through Imperial Legislative Council in spite of the united opposition by the Indian community. According to this act, it gave the government enormous powers to repress political activities and allowed the detention of political prisoners without trial. Number two, it was also imposed strict censorship on the press. That was Rowlatt Act. Accordingly, now the people have been unhappy because without reason they can be arrested, and as a result they should not be relieved for a period in a period of 2 years. So it was disliked by the Indian. It was decided that a nationwide hartal accompanied by fast and prayer would be observed. The 6th April was fixed as the date on which the Satyagraha would be launched. Rallies were organized in various cities, workers went on strike, and shops closed down. Alarmed by the popular upsurge, the British decided to clamp down on the nationalists. Now, see, this is the beginning of this revolt because of the Rowlatt Act. The people have been unhappy on now. On 13 April, a large crowd of people from neighboring villages came to Amritsar. Now, people would like to talk about those step which has been taken by the Britishers, which was not really fair enough for the people to go on. So now we have to see what is Jallianwala Bagh incident, which is an important incident in the history of India. Now see, on 13 April 1919, a crowd of villagers who had come to attend a Baisakhi fair gathered in the enclosed ground of Jallianwala Bagh. Now everybody assembled. They want to discuss two important issues. Number one, they want to celebrate Baisakhi. Number two, they would like to talk about the role of this Rowlatt Act, which has become a reason of disturbance among the people. The brutality of the Jallianwala Bagh stunned the entire nation. Now we should know what happened in the Jallianwala Bagh. So what happened? General Dyer with his British troop entered the park and closed the only exit point without giving any warning to the assembled people and ordered the troops to fire at the crowd, killing hundreds. Okay, so now this is the brutal act that has been taken by General Dyer, who provoked unparalleled indignation at the news of Jallianwala Bagh spread. Crowds took to the streets. Many North Indian towns, there were hartals, clashes and attacks on government building. So this is because of the step that was taken by General Dyer. Soon the government began to repress the angry mob. Curfew was imposed for weeks. People were flogged and made to crawl on their valleys in Amritsar. Villages around Jallianwala Bagh were bombed. Gandhiji got upset due to this widespread violence. Finally, he decided to withdraw the movement on 18th April. Now, in this slide, we are going to talk about the impact of non-cooperation movement on the economy of India. First of all, we would like to know what is non-cooperation movement and what were the causes of non-cooperation movement. So number one, we would like to talk about Hind Swaraj book that I have already told. 1909, Gandhiji declared that the British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians. and had continued because of their cooperation. So, what is the prime demand of Gandhiji? That first of all, we should decide that we are not going to coordinate with Britishers, and as a result, by not coordinating with Britishers, we will make them realize that now they will not be able to rule in India for a longer time. By this, British rule would have collapsed within a year and Swaraj would come. In order to translate non cooperation into a movement, Gandhiji proposed that the movement would unfold in stages. Now, Gandhiji has decided how to start the non cooperation movement. So, now we have to talk about Gandhiji proposal, how Gandhiji has planned how to start. In the first stage, the titles given by British government was surrendered. So what step first of all they have decided? So whatever honor and titles have been issued, that should now be surrendered. This is the time we should return all those honors which has been given by the Britishers. Number two, that is the second stage, Gandhiji asked people to boycott of civil services, police, courts, schools and foreign goods. It was decided that if the government used repression, a full civil disobedience campaign would be launched. Many leaders within the Congress were concerned about the proposal made by Gandhiji. In the months between September and October 1920, there was an intense tussle within Gandhiji with regard to the proposal between the supporters and the opponents of the non cooperation movement. Finally, in November 1920, a compromise was worked out and non-cooperation program was adopted at the Congress session at Nagpur. Right? So here now the people have decided that we are going to follow the suggestions which are given by Gandhiji regarding the non-cooperation movement. So we would like to know about the causes which are responsible for the non-cooperation movement. So what were the main cause? Already we have discussed in our previous slide, that is Rowlatt Act and Jallianwala Bagh incident. Now Khilafat agitations and need for the attainment of Swaraj, because everybody want to have their self independence. So now these were the simple reason because of which now people want to take a stand against the British. So the non-cooperation movement started, and as a result there was a great loss. So now we would like to see what were the bad impact on Indian economy. Because of this, the import of foreign cloth halved between 1921 1922. Its value dropped from rupees 102 crore to rupees 57 crore. There was a great economic loss. Many merchants and traders refused to trade in foreign goods or finance foreign trade. People began discarding imported cloths and wearing Indian ones. The production of Indian textile mills and handlooms went up. Use of khadi was popularized. So these were the steps taken by people to oppose British, and this was the best way that was suggested by Gandhiji to force Britishers to leave India. So now we would like to see in the next slide. So non-cooperation movement. Now one by one we have to see how the movement started in the different regions of India. There are certain example which we have to see. Number one, in Awadh, the peasants movement led by Baba Ramchandra was against talukdars and landlords who demanded extremely high rents and a variety of other seizures from the peasants. So this is the countryside movement. Peasants were forced to work in landlord farms without any payment, that is begar. Peasants had no security of tenure, thus being regularly evicted so that they could acquire no right over the leased land. So as a result they have to work, and afterwards there is no claim that they can put on that particular land. It was a leased land. The demand of the peasants were reduction of revenue, abolition of begar and social boycott of oppressive landlord. So this is all about this. In the Gooden Hills of Andhra Pradesh, it was started in the different regions of India. A militant guerrilla movement spread in early 1920s against the closure of forest area by the colonial government. Colonial government means we are talking about the British, preventing people from entering the forest to graze their cattle or to collect fuel, wood and fruits. They felt that their traditional rights were being denied. Now Britishers have made many more rules for the tribal community, that they are not supposed to enter in the jungle. If they would like to enter, they should take permit card, and accordingly they should go and they should come back on time. So this was very difficult for those people to entertain, and as a result they opposed and they have been very unhappy because of this decision that has been taken by the British. Now, for plantation workers in Assam, freedom meant the right to move freely in and out of the confined space in which they were enclosed. It meant retaining a link with the village from which they had come. Under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, plantation workers were not permitted to leave tea gardens without permission. In fact, the permission was hardly granted. When they heard of the non-cooperation movement, thousands of workers defied the authorities and left for their home. So it was also a kind of restriction that was not good for those people one who have been there to work for the production of tea. But while they come to know about this particular law, that they have to seek permission to leave that region, that was really painful for them. So as a result, while they come to know about that non-cooperation movement, they have been very happy and they have become a part of that non-cooperation movement. Now in the next slide, so now we have to see how the movement that was in a rapid speed, after all it slowed down. So we should see what was the reason because of which it slowing down. Khadi cloth was more expensive than milk cloth and poor people could not. So as we all know, Gandhiji encouraged people to use khadi because it was a Swadeshi product, but it was a little bit more expensive than milk cloth. Plus it was not easy for people who were poor to afford and to buy it. As a result, they could not boycott milk cloth for too long. Alternative Indian institutions were not there which could be used in place of the British one. They were slow to come up. In that way, whatever they have planned, actually they have not been able to implement because of various reasons. So students and teachers began trickling back to the government because for a few days we can stop going to the school, colleges or the government offices, but later on we have to rejoin because this is a regular practice that we should have to continue. So as a result, now we have to see that they will have to continue with the process. Then there was a rise of new movement in the form of Khilafat movement that was introduced by Ali brothers. So now see what was the motive of Gandhiji behind this. Khilafat movement was started by Mahatma Gandhi and the Ali brothers. Actually, this was the effort that was taken by Ali brothers. Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali, they were the two brothers, one who has taken the responsibility to bring awareness among the people about the injustice that was created by the British against the Khalifas. In response to the harsh treatment given to the Caliph of Ottoman Empire and the dismemberment of the Ottoman Empire by the British. So this is Khilafat movement. Gandhiji, along with Ali brothers, undertook a nationwide tour during which he addressed hundreds of meetings and met large number of political workers. In the first month itself, thousands of students left schools and colleges, headmasters and teachers resigned. The lawyers like C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel gave up lucrative practices. The council of elections were boycotted in most of the state except Madras, where the Justice Party, the party of non-Brahmins, felt that entering the council was one way of getting some power. So in that way, now we have to see what was Chauri Chaura incident and why that incident took place, and because of that incident, what was the step taken by Gandhiji. Now see Chauri Chaura incident. In February 1922, Gandhiji decided to launch a no tax movement. The police opened fire at the people who were taking part in demonstration without any provocation. The people turned violent in their anger and attacked the police station and set fire to it. The incident took place at Chauri Chaura in Uttar Pradesh. When the news reached Gandhiji, he was very upset because of that, because already he has suggested in the beginning that we are going to become a part of war, but it should be in a peaceful manner, that truth and non-violence. But while he come to know about the violence that was created by our people, so he was very upset, and as a result, he has decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. Swaraj Party was founded by C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru for return to council politics. Simon Commission 1928 and boycott Lahore Congress session and demand of Purn Swaraj in 1929, Dandi March and the beginning of civil disorder. So there were many more incidents took place after the withdrawal of non-cooperation movement. So what is important to know that one thing Gandhiji has suggested, that was non-violence in truth, which was not followed by the people. So as a result, Gandhiji withdraw the non-cooperation movement. Now civil disobedience movement. So it's very important to know what is civil disobedience movement, why this particular movement has been started, and what was the impact of this movement among people. So when the non-cooperation movement was withdrawn, there was a widespread disappointment among the people. Now the people have been very upset because there was a ray of hope according to which the people have been happy. Now there is someone who is going to justify us from the British rule. But because of withdrawal of the movement, a little bit people have become upset. There was even disillusionment among them. Within the Congress, leaders were by now tired of mass struggle and wanted to participate in elections to the provincial council that had been set up by the Government of India Act 1990. They felt that it was important to oppose British policies within the council. Instead of war, we should become a part of the council and we should raise our voice about the demands. So that was the concept that has been understood by our great leader like C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru, and they formed Swaraj Party that I have told. And as a result, now they plan to be a part of the council election. In the year of following the end of non-cooperation movement in 1922, nationalism had been kept alive by Gandhian constructive workers who worked in the village. That already we have discussed in our previous slide, how the people have become a part of non-cooperation movement because they have been upset because of one or other reason, so they want to be with Gandhiji, and as a result they have become a part of the war. People were now asked not only to refuse cooperation with the British but also to break the colonial laws. Foreign cloth was boycotted and people were asked to picket liquor shops. Peasants were asked not to pay revenue and chowkidari taxes. Student lawyers and village offices were asked not to attend English medium school, colleges, courts and all. Now we have to do the disobligation towards the British. Now this is an important incident, that is Salt March, that is one of the most notable journey in the life of Gandhiji. So now in this slide we are going to talk about Salt March, Dandi March it can be called as. Mahatma Gandhi found that salt was a powerful symbol that would unite the nation. On 31st January 1930, he sent a letter to Lord Irwin stating 11 demands. Some of these demands were reduction of land revenue, imposition of tariff on foreign cloth, and abolition of tax on salt. So on 31st January, what Gandhiji has sent to Lord Irwin? He sent a letter in the form of 11 demands, and as a result he asked those demands should be fulfilled, then only we are going to stop all those movement that they have already started. Salt was one of the most essential food items consumed by the rich and poor alike, and a tax on it was considered an operation on the people by the British government. So, as per Gandhiji, he had threatened to launch a civil disobedience campaign. So, Mahatma Gandhi started his famous Salt March accompanied by 78 of his trusted volunteers. Now, as a result, they have planned and they have started their journey. The march was over 240 miles from Gandhiji Ashram, that is Sabarmati, to the Gujarati coastal town of Dandi, and that journey took place for consecutive 24 days. The volunteers walked for 24 days, about 10 miles a day. Thousands came to hear Mahatma Gandhi wherever he stopped, and he told them what he meant by Swaraj and asked them to peacefully defy the British. So, in this journey of 24 days, Gandhiji has started speaking to the people, and as a result, he convinced people that we are supposed to ask for the freedom, and that is only possible while we are going to raise the voice against the British. On 6th April, finally, he reached Dandi and ceremonially violated the law manufacturing salt by boiling seawater. This marked the beginning of civil disobedience movement. So this is one of the important journey that was raised by Gandhiji, and as a result, Gandhiji was successful to connect to the people, and this is the moment that has really given a great image of Gandhiji among people. Now people come to know there is some leader, one who is going to help them out, and the great trust raised among people about Gandhiji role. Now, in the next slides, who participated in the movement? Now, the question rises. After salt satyagraha, again there was some more movement that we have to see, that is civil disobedience movement 1930. So now civil disobedience movement came into force in various parts of the country. Gandhiji led the salt march from Sabarmati Ashram. We have already discussed. In the countryside, we come to know their role, and then as rich communities were very hard hit by the trader depression and falling prices, they become enthusiastic supporters of civil disobedience movement. So that we all know. Now most of the people one who have been in the society, they have been very upset because of the British policies and the method how they ruled on people. So as a result, they have become a part of this movement, and they all want to coordinate with Gandhiji because they all want justice. They want liberation of India from the British rule. The industrial working class of Nagpur region also participated in the civil disobedience movement. Railway workers, dock workers, mineral of Chota Nagpur, etc., etc. participated in the protest rallies and boycott campaigns. So now, after all, everybody was interested to become a part of the movement because they don't want to be under the British now. Now we have to see what were the challenges the people have faced because of this movement. So now less participation by untouchables because they have not been aware about all. Ambedkar for separate electorates and Pune Pact of 1932. Now there were certain issues that raised by their own team member, and as a result because of this concept they have not been able to fulfill their demand of each and every one. Now we have to see what is Pune Pact. Provision of Pune Pact of 1932 that was signed between Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Gandhiji. So we all know who is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was belonging to the community of untouchables and he was in favor of the upliftment of untouchable. So he raised voice that we want the upliftment of untouchables now. He gave depressed classes reserved seats in Central Provincial Council, but they were to be voted by the general electorate. Now we have to see what happened in and how the people have got the sense of belongingness towards the nation, how they realize that they need to fight for the nation, and how they should help to build the independence of our nations. So sense of collective belonging, we have to see what is sense of collective belonging. So we would like to discuss about the belongingness to the nation. So what are the means by which we should feel pride to say that we belong to this particular nation? So now they have designed certain images, certain songs, and they want to spread among the people and highlight among the people to know that we are the part of our nation. Though nationalism is spread through the experience of united struggle, but a variety of cultural processes captured the imagination of Indians and promoted a sense of collective belonging. So how they have developed, we have to see one by one. Use of figures or images. They have designed the image of Bharat Mata. Devotion to the mother figure came to be seen as an evidence of one's nationality. So why they have designed? Because they want to make people realize that India is our Bharat Mata. They designed the image of Bharat Mata. Now by that image only they want to speak to the people that for this particular Mata we have to fight and we have to restore our freedom, and it is only possible while we are going to become a part of the movement. Indian folklore, they have started speaking to the people in the different form in their dialects to make them understand what actually they need to do to achieve that independence. Nationalists started recording and using folklores and tales which they believed gave a true picture of traditional culture that had been corrupted and damaged by outside forces. So preservation of these become a way to discover one's national identity and restore a sense of pride in one's past. So now use of icons and symbol in the form of flag. So they introduce a tricolor flag. By that they want to say that this flag belongs to the nation. So we should have connectivity with the tricolor flag. Carrying the tricolor flag and holding it aloft during the marches become a symbol of defiance and promoted a sense of collective belonging. Reinterpretation of history. Reinterpretation of history means they are going to talk about those great heroes, one who have contributed their life, one who has made discoveries, one who have done different inventions. Indian begins looking into the past to rediscover the glorious development in ancient time in the field of art, science, mathematics, religion and culture, and they want to make people aware about the significant role of those great leaders that they have already played. This glorious time was followed by a history of decline when India got colonized, as Indian history was miserably written by the colonizers. So, after all, these all means help people to understand that they have to fight for the nation because already many more people have given their life to get new discoveries. So the ideas of nationalism also developed through a movement to review different stories, tricolor flags, image of Bharat Mata, and the way they had. Like in Bengal, Rabindranath Tagore himself collected nursery rhymes and folk tales. And he has started talking to the people. As the national movement developed, the nationalists become aware of icons and symbols, and they have been ready to become a part of it. So it has acted as a unifying force, which has made people realize that they have to fight for the nation. They inspired the people with a feeling of nationalism during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal. A tricolor flag that was red, green, and yellow was designed, and it had 8 lotuses representing 8 provinces of the British Empire and a crescent moon representing the Hindus and Muslims. By 1921, Gandhiji also designed a tricolor flag and had a spinning wheel in the center carrying the idea of self-help, and the marcher carried the flag and held it a loop to show their defiance. So, in that way, they have been able to convince people that they have to fight for the nation, they have to maintain the glory of the country, and really, whatever step has been taken by Gandhiji and designed by Gandhiji, that was appreciable at that time. So now we should see some of the important topic that Simon Commission already we have discussed about it. In 1920, the Simon Commission arrived in India. It was greeted with slogan "Go back, Simon." All political parties, including Congress and Muslim League, participated in the protest. In October 1929, Lord Irwin, the Viceroy, announced a vague offer of dominion status of India in an unspecified future and suggested a round table conference to discuss a future constitution to win them over. The Congress leaders were not satisfied. Why the people have not been agree with the Simon Commission? Because there was no one who belonged to our country. All the members, one who have been in the Simon Commission, they were Britishers. So that's why it was unacceptable to India. Now there are certain questions which are usually asked by the children. So we should see one by one what are the important frequently asked questions. What are the frequently asked questions we should see? Why the growth of nationalism in the colonies linked to an anti-colonial movement? So now we should see one by one the reasons I have given. People started discovering their unity while they struggled under colonials. The feeling of oppression became a shared bond that brought many different groups together. The feeling of oppression means everybody have been upset, they discuss about the problem, and as a result they reach to the conclusion that this is the right time they have to be united. Each class, group experienced colonialism differently, and even their ideas of freedom were not always the same. The INC under Mahatma Gandhi tried to bring these groups together under one movement. This unity did not emerge without conflict. So these are the reasons because of which the growth of nationalism in the colonies linked to an anti-colonial movement. Now next, Jallianwala Bagh incident that we all know what was the reason because of which the Jallianwala Bagh incident took place. So there was one basic reason because of which the people have been very upset, that was the introduction of Rowlatt Act. So as a result they have been very upset, and as a result they planned to assemble somewhere and to decide and discuss about it. So they planned a specific place, that was Jallianwala Bagh, which is located in Amritsar. On 13 April, the Jallianwala Bagh incident took place. A large crowd gathered in the enclosed ground of Jallianwala Bagh. Some had arrived to protest against the British government new repressive measures, while others had come to attend the annual Baisakhi festival. Coming from outside the city, several villagers were unaware of the martial law that had been imposed. General Dyer entered the areas, blocked the exit points, and commanded an open fire on the crowd. This incident killed hundreds. As he declared later, his objective was to produce a moral effect, a feeling of terror and awe in the minds of Satya. Now, why did Gandhiji decide to call off the non-cooperation movement? This is very important. In February 1922, Gandhiji decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. He believed that the movement was turning violent in multiple places and the satyagrahis needed to be appropriately trained before they are ready for mass struggle. So, what was the reason? Because of violence that has been created by the people. Number two, why were Indians outraged by the Rowlatt Act 1990? What was the reason of grievances? So we should see the Rowlatt Act was rapidly passed through the Imperial Legislative Council even though it was entirely opposed by the Indian members. It gave the British government immense power to suppress the political activities. It authorized the detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. How did the First World War help in the growth of national movement in India? So now we should see how First World War affected people. It led to an enormous increase in the defense spending funded by war loans and increasing taxes. Custom duties were raised and income tax introduced. Forced recruitment was done in villages, which induced widespread anger. Cross failed, thus resulted in an acute food shortage. More than 12 million people died owing to the famines and epidemics. These are the reasons because of that people have been upset. Thank you very much. If there are any queries regarding the nationalism in India, so you should comment and ask. And the best way to go through the content nicely, review and recall the information. Thank you for watching.